Alright, so now I've had several days to run this car. I've tuned it, I've modified it, and I just want to give my final thoughts on what I think about it so far. So some of the key things I want to point out that need to be either fixed or replaced. Put this on so I can use those hands. Okay, so one of the things that I first, well, let's start with the wheels. The WL wheels are kind of more for off-road. Doesn't have any foam in it, so it's very difficult to drive on the track. Probably great to drive on dirt though, because of the extra grip. So I took the wheels off. These are Rush wheels, and this is like a Mini Beast style tire. So I put foam inside of them and glued them down. These are a 1 offset, and these run really well on the track. Another thing to note is that they come with plastic 12mm wheel huxes, and if you tighten those down too much, it binds into the wheel bearing, which will allow your car not to roll freely. So I went with the metal. Any A959 or 144001 wheel huxes will work. So I went with metal. You could tighten those down all the way, and everything still rolls freely. So that's definitely a big plus to go with. Because there's going to be a point where your wheel nuts will loosen up, and when you try to tighten them down, you're going to over tighten them. And once you do that, over tighten them, it kind of messes them up permanently. So the plastic gets worn, and you'll never find that perfect spot unless you go all the way in and then kind of back out just a little bit. I added sway bars. It's really not necessary to add these, but I'm running these on carpet, so that's one of the reasons why I wanted to run those. This one actually is a big problem. So the ball studs here on the shocks, they're not the correct size for the hole itself. So I tried, reversing them. I tried every option. They just kept popping off. So in order to fix this, it's kind of interesting because the metal inserts that go into this size collar does not fit the screw that you need to go into the shock tower. So what I had to do is I had to pull off some plastic ones from some old non-oil filled shocks. I pulled out the plastic inserts, and that will allow me to screw the screw in that I need to get into here. So from there, what I had to do is I actually had to, because the ball, when you screw the screw through it, the ball expands a little bit, so it makes it really hard, almost impossible to get in. So what I had to do after that was shave the ball down in order to get it adaptable to go into here. So doing that modification allowed it to pretty much be solid. It's not going to pop off or anything. So that's necessity for dirt or carpet. I definitely recommend finding the solution for that. I didn't do the rears because the rears don't have that issue like the fronts do, but I do have the screws ready to go in case they do. So I just wanted to see and test if it's just the front that has the issue. I do have the rear sway bars in the back. They're both front and rear hards. Good big difference on the track because of the weight of this car and because of the grippiness of the tires. Servo. The original servo it comes with is a plastic servo. We removed it for the Metal Gear servo, and with that, the servo saver is the bigger size servo saver, so it will fit on here. The problem is that the servo saver has too much slop in it. So what was going on is it would not stay straight for anything. So if you can notice right here, there is a little bit of play in the wheels before the servo arm actually moves. So running just a regular shoe, I don't know if it's called a shoe horn, but the servo horn, running the regular horn, to me it seems like there's no issues. I drive straight, it tracks straight. There's if anything, I believe the plastic will strip out before the metal internal gears. So I'm hoping that this itself strips out if it needs to. That way there's a weak point. If it was metal on metal, then the internal gears would be the first ones to go. ESC, the stock one, is completely fine if you're running it on dirt, just kind of in stock form. They tuned it down just slightly. That way you're not wheeling everywhere, you're not losing control. So it almost has like a VTEC or turbo feel to it. So it goes, and then all of a sudden it just starts going even more. So it has like a little a delay, and that is for control of the car, just to keep it down on the ground and, you know, not lose control of it every time you try to full throttle it. So I changed it out to a 25 amp ESC. I'm sure it's probably right around the same range as what the stock ESC is. I don't believe any of their ESC ratings, so they rate it as a 40 amp or 45 amp. Most likely it's going to be like maybe a 25. There's no reason for them to give correct information when it comes to ESCs, because there's really no way of testing it. So the only way you're going to know is if your motor, your ESC blows up, if it catches on fire. So this ESC can run, I ran it at 45 miles an hour with the fan. So right now we're probably running on the track right around, I would say, 35 mile an hour range because of the grip, and no issues at all. Going with this ESC allows me to move the ESC down to lower center of gravity and just put the receiver on top, so it gives it a very sleek, very perfect look. What also happens because of that, it allows the body to sit on it correctly and not have it bulk everywhere. So that is sitting on there with just Velcro, and I didn't like this body originally, but I like it without the electronics that make it all look like a parachute. So let's take this off again. What other issues that I found? I went through, I add the diff grease in front and rear, so running the, what am I doing? 5,000 in front and 3,000 in the rear. There's no oil or grease in any of the, actually the diffs on the outside, they do have a slight bit of grease on them just to keep them lubed, I guess, but I just added the white synthetic grease front and rear. It's 5,000 internal, 3,000 in the diffs itself, and it is running a 27 tooth pinion. Just because of what this is, I'm pretty sure this is the EAT 14 brushless, which would be a, I want to say it's like a 3800 kV 2845 with a 27 tooth pinion. So I'm pretty sure that's what it is. Let's see what else we have on here. Servo wing. Your wing is definitely going to break. This wing is from the LC Racing. This is for their I think it's for the DT, their desert truck. So that's the LC Racing wing, LC Racing sway bars. You don't really have anything else LC Racing on here, but kind of gives you an idea of all the different mods that I've done. So this is a perfectly tuned carpet car, and right now this is definitely my best 18, no question about it. I originally was driving it, I wasn't sure if it was going to be anything close to high boxing, but after tuning it and after getting it all dialed in, this is on par with an LC. So blows away a regular WL on the track and very close to an LC on par. So let's give it a couple runs. This CSC has a timing adjustment, so I did adjust the time just a little bit. I don't think I really know which each one does, so I'm still kind of playing with it a little bit. And looks like I might have a dead battery. Alright, let me go check this battery. I'm not sure if this is a dead one, if I picked the wrong one. So I'll be right back. That was my fault, grabbed a dead battery. But these collars also, pay attention to them. They do like to pop off and come off. So I haven't really decided if I'm going to glue them down or not. I think I might just add like a little bit of CA glue just to kind of keep them there. I can still take them off if I need to make some adjustments. So this is actually a good battery now. The screen's going to be jumpy. Yeah. Alright, so here we go. 184016 track tuned pro version. And I think tomorrow I'm going to try to do some time runs just to kind of get an idea what it does on times for if it comes anything close to a W or an LC on times or the high boxing. I think I should be able to get pretty close to an LC time. The high boxing does not get anything close to an LC time, but I think this will be a close one. Let me get a couple times around the track so I can get warmed up. This thing's a little beast. So when you're driving this one on carpet, because of its really short wheelbase, probably especially because the tires are running too, you definitely have to land flat. On the LC, you can kind of land nose front, forward a little bit, nose down a little bit, and you can correct it pretty easy. This one doesn't really like it as much because of its shorter ground clearance and the wheel size. So what I did, so sometimes I actually will just kind of sit there and tinker with the car without driving it, just see what flexes in certain directions and see what does what. And without even driving it, I can kind of see that I would like a little bit more bounce, rebound up front. So I increased shock tension in the front, and it seems to be driving a lot better. So one of the things that I wanted to gain control of on this car was the braking, the point of acceleration. So if you look at the car now, it's not very much pull until it starts moving. So it allows me to stay in a throttle range with some pull at some point. So the WL controllers, it's very hard to find that spot. And because of that, it makes it so your motor's working, and then all of a sudden it's not working, like instantly. And then that dead zone will keep your wheels from not spinning, and it'll bring your nose down quite a bit. So it kind of helps you lose control a little bit if you're using the WL transmitter, especially for carpet. But the brakes also was another big thing for me. I definitely have to have brakes on the carpet when you're driving. Yeah, this thing drives literally like an LC on the carpet. WLs, they are not my favorite on the carpet, just because they're not geared correctly. And even, I think my favorite WL on the carpet is just their Brush 144001. But the problem is that, again, it's kind of designed for bashing in dirt, so the springs are too soft. Trying to put a thicker shock oil in it doesn't really work because those springs don't have enough rebound for them. So the answer would be to just get some LC springs, but I don't want to keep putting LC parts on a car that's similar to an LC, because I'd rather just buy an LC. So I know a lot of people don't see the value. I understand why LCs cost so much, but I can almost guarantee you is one of the best driving RCs I've ever driven, and that's on a 10 scale level, 8 scale level. They're just tuned, they just work well, especially on the track. I think I like the WL better on dirt because you don't give a crap about it, you just send it out and beat the crap out of it. Yeah, most likely it's going to break, but you know, it's not that big of a deal with the WL. When you're driving an LC, It's completely different. You kind of value that car a little bit more, especially a carpet version. My carpet cars I won't even take out barely to do speed runs because I don't want to mess with the tires. Oops. And I've taken one of my cars out in dirt because that's my original LC before I started building this track. But since then, I have not taken an LC out in dirt. I think the only one I'm actually curious to see in dirt right now is the EMBT. And I've owned one before and I've driven in dirt, but not to the driving level that I'm at now. So I want to see what it feels like to drive that one in dirt. The way that's tuned. So right now it's kind of tuned for carpet. I don't really care for that one in carpet because of its I don't know if it's a size, is it a grip? I'm not sure exactly what it is, but I just don't care for that, the EMBT on this track. On a full 10 scale track, might be a different story, but I just don't see it right now. Oh, I popped off both of those. That's interesting. All right, let's stop it real quick. Okay, so both my steering leaks popped off. So that brings me to a conclusion. With the Servo Saver Delete, it seems like the ball joints are going to save your servo from being stripped out. Well, at least most of the time. I'm not saying every time, but it seems like that's a weak point, and it will disconnect before it does too much. So I had to this car, again, make sure you're always checking your wheel nuts because they do come loose, and especially again if you're going to go with the metal 12mm hexes, you definitely want to add some Loctite into the wheel nuts. So I can't get this car as consistent as all my other cars yet because of its speed and because of its short, tight suspension. But this is probably one of my best driving track cars right now. I just got to tune it in a little bit more. I'm not sure if I'm liking the way that the tires are set right now because they're wearing out pretty quickly. It's probably because of the weight and the speed of this car. Back over. Jeez, man. This car is just too much. So there was a thought I had originally to lower the speed of this car, but as long as I could just turn the speed down, I'm fine with keeping the motor. I was going to put the 10 shock in it, but again, it goes back to that gearing that they chose. If I changed to a 10 shock motor, I'd have to go either to a 17 tooth or 19 tooth, and I'm not sure if that's even worth it. So that was the amount of air control it had right there. So has extreme power, still running at 50% throttle. I've even tried getting used to this speed and turning it up. It's not even drivable. Let's do that over. What a difference changing just some shock tension in the front would do though. It's a big difference for me right now. I'm noticing a lot more stability up front. Again, I'm going to put a transponder on this car tomorrow, get some time runs on it, see what it compares to on my other cars. That hurt, jeez. on, get off of there. So as I watch these videos back over when I'm editing them, it's funny because the frame rate doesn't really show how fast these cars are. So it still looks fast in the videos, but in person it's actually a lot faster. It seems like it'd be easy to drive this little thing on this track, but it's actually not. So I think that stud popped out again. Let's check it. Yep, sure did. Okay, so that's 2 times. Let's fix this real quick one more time. That was the second time it popped out. What I did notice also on that is that those ball stud, the retainers are actually tapered also. So if I needed to, I could twist this just a half turn facing the opposite way and push it in that way. I tried doing it right now. It takes a little more pressure to get it in, but I think that might be the solution of getting these to not pop out anymore. So it seems like WL just made some calculation errors on their parts, or this car is just no, it would be their calculation mistakes, because they could have just went with something a little bit different besides the setup that they have that will give it more reliability. So based off of their videos that they're trying to promote what this car can do bashing wise, there is no way that it can do that without popping everything off again. So I don't know what they did to get everything dialed in to make those videos, but there's no way that that's possible with the stock form. I'm being attacked by mosquitoes right now. I'm trying to drive. If you guys seen my first video, I couldn't even get this car around the track one time without messing up. So this is definitely an improvement. Again, it's still really fast. I'm sure if I turn the speed down, I could probably get through a little bit easier, but what's the fun in that? I want to get this thing up to 100% and rip it around the track. I'm not sure if I'm gonna be able to do it because of the torque it has, but I could probably get it up to like 60 or 70%. I don't even know if I would want to though. This is faster than all my other cars already. It's just harder to drive because it's a setup. I would think naturally an 18 is not designed to jump super far distances, but I think this one is gonna allow you to do that. So the shocks front and rear, they are designed for this car. So I've tried looking at all my other 18 shocks to see if I can interchange, and the 2 rears on this are longer than the fronts. They both have really stiff springs compared to all my other cars, so I have a feeling that they actually knew that this could probably be used for carpet, because this really does feel like a carpet car the way it's set up. The WL 144001 and all the other ones, they are set up for dirt. They have dirt tires. They the spring tension's really light, so it absorbs any kind of bumps. But for this one, man, this car drives so well. So now I actually have to build another high boxing to possibly compete with this thing. The high boxing is very consistent. That one also runs pretty well. Jumps really good, has great air control, doesn't really traction roll. Just not as fast as this one. This one's definitely a lot lower to the ground. You could feel that. Yeah, this one definitely feels like a race car now. When I first got out of the box, to me it just kind of felt like a basher. An incomplete basher, I guess you would say. But now it feels like a true 184016 Pro. And I think the transmitter had a big part of it for sure. Now there is an ESC by Fly Color. That's a 45 amp. It's the exact same dimension, size of this one. On Amazon it's black, but it actually is red in real life. So if you wanted to stick with a higher output ESC that can match up to your speed that you're going to hit with this thing, that would be the one that I would get. It's the 45 amp. It has the fan included. It's $25, and it would allow you to move your ESC down to where the battery tray's at and keep all your CG real low. I think that happens because I think that jump is messed up. I think there's one spot on that jump that kicks your front end forward, but this car has plenty of power to exit out of it. I think this one is the one that's gonna really bring WL to the forefront of possibly carpet racing, because there's nothing like this. There's nothing that's made like this. There's no 18 scale that's of this quality. So if they decide to actually make 18 all-wheel drive classes, this would be the car that everyone runs. There's nothing, even if I showed up with the high boxing, I have a feeling that I would probably get smoked by these things. You know, I've been running high boxing for a little while, and they're great cars, but now that I have a little bit of run time with this one, this thing's really hard to beat. This is probably, I would say, probably the best car of 2022, 2023, and I don't know. I don't know what can compete with this. This car allows you to build the little mini track that you've always been wanting to build. To run out in dirt, run out in street, you can pretty much run this anywhere. It's fast, extremely fast, and because of its short, that's the battery. Because of its short wheelbase and arms and everything, you're really not going to break that many parts unless you run full speed into something. So that is my final thoughts and run of the 184016. Right now, it's probably one of my favorite track cars. And tomorrow we'll run some times on it to see what it does compared to an LC. Alright, that's it.